So Alex, today we're talking about metrics, data, coding, programming, pushing the boundaries of technology and data. The first thing that comes to mind is what's the most fringe or cutting edge piece of tech that you own?
I am a big early adopter of VR. My Oculus is pretty neat, and I really like playing games like Beat Saber, which is essentially just Guitar Hero without the plastic controller. And you do a lot of waving around with your hands in that game, but it's an interesting platform to be on because it could be something that in 10 years time it's a lot more heavily adopted. You might see us working in marketing with VR headsets soon.
Oh gosh, yeah, the office is just going to be all the marketing specialists in the big room with their headsets on, sitting in silence and waving their arms around.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I can't wait for that. That sounds like a fun time.
Welcome to the Limelight podcast, your source for medical marketing news. Get insights into the latest trends, learn about groundbreaking marketing strategies, and discover the newest tools. We'll let you know what questions you should be asking and where to find the answers. All this and more brought to you by the team at Digital Limelight Media.
Today's topic is a further dive into data, what DLM collects and how to use it. In this episode, you'll hear mentions of DLM Insight and DLM Internal. They're two sides of a marketing platform that DLM created to help organize our clients' marketing data.
We had a great primer for this discussion in our last episode with Stephanie and Allie, and we encourage you to go back and listen to that if you haven't already. And if Niko's technical expertise in this episode goes a bit over your head, don't worry, because our marketing specialist, Allie, will be back to explain what it all actually means for your practice.
We're excited to bring on our in-house coding specialist, Niko, who is our expert in all things data, development, and coding. He keeps Insight in our internal systems running smoothly and reporting correctly. He's joined us today to do a deep dive on how these systems work and maintain HIPAA compliance. So, Niko, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, this is cool.
So, Niko, I've spent a little time with overall client data when I helped my last employer, which was an accounting firm, develop a way of tracking their audits through the process in a centralized location, which was mostly just a glorified online Excel spreadsheet. But even then, it was still pretty overwhelming to get it working smoothly. And I know for you, there's a lot of data involved with certain steps of our process and getting notifications to our team and to clients at the right time. I was curious how you gather that data for our clients and why it's valuable.
Here at DLM, we build connections between programs using APIs, API standing for Application Programming Interface. APIs allow us to do so many things. It's like a direct connection to that platform. You can set up automations, scrape data, build webhooks or triggers, etc.
When you talk about APIs, you're talking about this website talking to another website, or talking to our tools in internal. What exactly are APIs doing?
Yeah, API is kind of like a window into another platform, right? With an API, you can talk to it, grab data, push data, all programmatically, right? For example, like a Facebook API, you could view a friends list when somebody clicks on that button, or any platform in general. Anything that has an API is pretty much good to go.
So what kind of data do we utilize with APIs?
A huge array of things, which is actually quite beautiful. We grab data for SEO purposes. We check for how keywords are ranking, how page analytics, lead generation, phone calls, just about anything, EMR data, and matching page view analytics with lead form entries to calculate conversion rates, or using our ability to match EMR data with phone call records. Really anything we can get our hands on. If we find out they have an API, then I'm actually quite stoked to fetch that data and make an integration to it.
So it sounds like APIs help us kind of bridge platforms with data. And I'm just wondering, does basically every website or platform have an API?
Not everyone. The good ones certainly do. APIs are critical. If that platform doesn't have an API, then we find another platform. Without an API, that data is stuck behind a login screen, available through some ugly dashboard, and you can export into a spreadsheet if you're lucky.
But APIs are much more efficient at getting that data to our systems.
Oh, yes, that is the key. Being able to put that data into our systems and use it for anything we want.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome that you can just, calculate the whole flow. That's a lot of touch points, and if you're able to synthesize that all, it seems like you'll be able to get a lot from that. So after you gather all that data, what do you do with it?
Yeah, well, gathering the data is only about 20% of the whole gig. After we fetch the data, it's important to kind of format it into a more usable format. Oftentimes, API calls, they return really weird formats, usually not very computer friendly. So it's important to query for the data that we're interested in and query that data in different ways to make different reports. And after all that data is fetched, then I can go through it and parse it out, create other reports by cross-referencing the data fetched from different locations to make different reports. And then we can cache all that information just so that everything runs a little bit faster. And then once all that information is gathered and parsed and put into a standardized format, then I push everything to our client-facing system, DLM Insight, so that the client can view these reports and all this data while still being, efficient because we don't use any real-time calls and all the calculations are done on our powerhouse of a server and then given to the CRM, and it's all HIPAA compliant.
I'm glad you mentioned that term, HIPAA. Now, one of the things that we run into a lot with developing new services is making them HIPAA compliant. So could you tell us how HIPAA changes the way we collect and work with data?
With HIPAA compliance, we have to do so much extra stuff just to adhere to the compliance. It's not as annoying as you might think, right? HIPAA compliance really is just kind of forcing you to write secure code. Provides a great value in doing that, right? So you're not allowed any open endpoints. You have to always require credentials, always push data with secure methods. But all this is pretty standard stuff. Insight takes it a step further because both of our systems are completely custom made. I can heavily modify the data transitions between the two. So I can create randomly generated keys for transfers just to double check. I can also force things to come by certain times and by certain locations. I can obviously blacklist things, but because our systems are unique and custom, all data that gets transferred between internal and Insight is heavily regulated because they're all done by scripts that I wrote myself. No plugins or connections or random things that you don't know what's going on. Whenever I make a webhook from an API service, I make sure that webhook talks to a proxy server and then the proxy server talks to our main servers, just so that nothing outside of our circle even knows that these two servers exist.
Well, like our title of our podcast, or unofficial title for this podcast specifically, is On Data Mining, Swimming in the New Oil. And I think you've astutely pointed the value of data and a lot of this, Niko, so I appreciate that.
I super lucked out with DLM, right? Data mining is obviously my favorite kind of programming, and I've been doing it like before DLM. But it seems that Kyle and I share the same addiction for fetching data, building reports, finding patterns. I'm obviously biased because I'm a data miner, but data is just so immensely valuable.
Wow. Well, I'm so grateful you are on the podcast today, Niko. I'm not sure if I'm smarter or just more confused about what you do after talking with you, but it's a pleasure to chat with you regardless.
Thanks. It was fun to be here.
These days, marketing is complicated. There are so many streams of potential traffic that you want to capitalize on and follow up with, and seemingly no time to do it. With DLM Insight, all your marketing efforts are in one place, helping you streamline your practice, expand into new markets, and leverage the latest technology to connect with new patients. To learn more about our services, check out our website or email our marketing specialist at info@dlmconversion.com. That's info@dlmconversion.com.
Thanks to Niko's expertise in data, we really do gather a lot of information for our clients to inform our marketing efforts and shift our overall strategy as a company. Joining us now to bridge the gap between data and its impact on medical practices is Allie, a marketing specialist here at DLM.
Allie, thanks for doing this again.
Yeah, no problem.
So, Allie, we were just talking with Niko about the different types of data that we collect to help drive decisions for our clients. How do you, as a marketing specialist, interact with this data, and how do you make those decisions? If we're talking about the bridge between data and marketing efforts, it seems like you're the bridge.
Yeah, so data drives everything we do to make educated decisions here at DLM. It's used in design, content, and SEO. We leverage the power of data mining to help our clients' ROI. DLM doesn't explicitly data mine, but we partner with companies like Meta to target the correct audiences on Facebook and Instagram. For example, information such as age, gender, and interests help us create a more niche audience to advertise towards. Thus, we are targeting more qualified leads.
So you just mentioned gathering data through like other platforms' information and what they have, and we can use that to inform our own decisions. So I'm curious about how this data influences, for example, the like content topics for clients' monthly blog posts. Is that mostly data driving those decisions, or is there also a creative strategy involved with the client?
Yeah, so keyword rankings play a large role in deciding on the blog topic. However, many other factors can come into play. Seasonality, current trends, internal promotions. Say a client just purchased a new cool sculpting machine and they want to promote that. And then also top ranking procedures or services can also be taken into account when selecting a blog topic to write about.
We've talked about some of Insight's features with other guests on the podcast. What are some of your favorite and most frequent tools that you use within that software?
My most frequently used dashboards are common views that clients are most interested in, where their leads and calls sit, what traffic and rankings change have occurred. I personally like the CRM the most. I think it's a great way for practices to get off spreadsheets and manage patients through a more direct flow of steps that you can customize to meet the needs of your practice.
Allie, thank you for helping clarify how data can help medical practices craft relevant content and find the right tools they need to make sure their efforts are working. I hope you'll be back on the podcast in a future episode.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Uh-oh, someone just left a 1-star review for your practice. How do you respond? With DLM Review, we've created a reputation management software that helps you collect positive reviews, reduce and respond to negative comments, and display your best reviews live on your social media or website. Ready to get that 5-star status? Contact the team at DLM today by emailing info@dlmconversion.com. That's info@dlmconversion.com.
A recent addition to our team, who we're really grateful to have finally, is Ariana, a sales specialist. She's working to solidify our sales process for the first time as a company. Ariana, thanks for joining us and thanks for your work.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for having me here today.
So, Ariana, your role here is in sales and helping boil down our services and tools to new medical practices. So, Ariana, how do we explain what we do here at DLM and how we can make a difference to new leads?
Well, Alex, typically when I'm talking to a new lead, I would like to highlight efficiency and time within their practice. When talking to a practice manager or the doctors, anything that's going to save their time because they have very little time, they're going to listen. And just month after month, they're just trying to perfect, to be more organized, to be more efficient, to have just be more put together. And that is what I like to highlight when talking to practice managers.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. Efficiency is important to a front desk. It's important to, I think, the way doctors perceive their practices as well. So what's one of the ways we can judge where a prospective client can improve, maybe say they're top of funnel, where they need to collect more opportunities?
Well, when looking at clients or practices that we're working with, we perform a site audit and many other little data statistic things, but we want to see where their problems are truly coming from so we can work with them to improve them.
As someone who's a client-facing team member and someone who has to coordinate kind of the efforts that exist past that first line of where we're starting to meet and connect with new brands, clients really have no idea how strong the bonds can be once they're on the other side of that relationship. I know many of our team members take performance real seriously, and the mutual success that we have with our clients thrives because of that. And it's hard to convince someone who's never been here and done that with us that that's something to invest in. But that's what's kind of neat about these conversations, and I'm glad we get to have them with clients.
Ariana, thanks for sharing your thoughts today, and I'm sure we'll talk to you later to learn more from your perspective.
It was great to hear from a variety of people at DLM today about how we use data to help improve clients' practices and the patient's experience with their website and marketing efforts.
Yeah, that's right. And as a reminder, if you or someone you know would benefit from any of the design, leverage, or measure services offered at DLM, we are happy to set you up with a demonstration of our tools. You can reach out to us at info@DLM Conversion to get started. That's info@DLMConversion.com. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for joining us on the Limelight podcast. We hope you learned something new today that adds value to your practice. Remember to talk to an expert about your specific situation before making decisions based on the information provided in this podcast. Digital Limelight Media LLC, its employees, partners, sponsors, and guests are not responsible for any action taken or not taken as a result of listening to this podcast. As always, we welcome your questions and encourage you to reach out about any of the services we offer at DLM. Have a great day.